Nigerian Airlines experienced a slump in air traffic in the first quarter of 2023 after the 2022 Christmas festive period boost, only to witness a spike in ticket fares during the just concluded Eid celebrations. Return tickets to the north were going for as high as 150 to 200,000 naira for economy seats. This astronomical increase comes amid huge expectations about the new administration's policy direction in the aviation sector. On Aviation this week today, we speak with Nigerians who traveled during the just concluded Muslim Eid celebration. Hello and welcome. I am Bukola Koka. The global upset during the 2020 pandemic in all fields of human endeavor, including the aviation sector, will not be forgotten in a hurry. In 2020, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, had projected that Nigeria's aviation industry will have 3.5 million fewer passengers, resulting in a $0.76 billion revenue loss. Well, the industry hasn't quite recovered in spite of the many increases in air travel costs. Our background report today reveals the thoughts and needs of travelers en route to their various points of destination, with Lagos being their entry point.
Running at slow pace isn't the regular sight at airports during festive seasons, as many individuals use the days off work to either rest or go see fun places, to even meeting up with family and friends. But the Eid celebration this year seen a low turnout for travelers. Ranging from high cost of tickets to flight delays, Nigerians speak on some pressing issues affecting the aviation sector.
I think the cost has been consistent with what we've seen over the last 3-4 months. It's been in that range of anywhere from 40 to 60,000. So the prices fortunately haven't spiked up as they usually will we expect during the holidays. Services have been okay. I think we've seen also a steady improvement in the quality of service delivery. Interestingly, today there's not large crowd as I would expect, and I believe it has something to do with the inflation that is sweeping around everywhere. So maybe that's also a reason why service delivery, the guys providing services are not under any pressure, so they can attend to us with a bit more courtesy.
The ticketing was easy, the usual online routes, and quite costly considering it was the festive season, but the transport down here was quite hectic. One, our flight was brought forward, we couldn't meet up, and we had to wait long hours in the airport for a reschedule. So it was even funny that our flight even took us to Kano first before bringing us down here. We came down yesterday, but we had to come today because our luggage wasn't brought down from Abuja. So you can imagine the stress we went through, and then the fact that we even got here by 12. At 12, we got to our destination by 12 actually, so it was very hectic.
Some others speak to the challenges and seek to prefer solutions to the government and management of aviation services on better ways to operate while comparing Nigeria to other countries.
On my way coming back, there was a delay from the flight, about 3 hours delay, which I think is not good for the travelers. At least if they want to improve in that way, I think it will be better, because a lot of people want to travel and they want to meet the actual time that they want to travel. Maybe some people are traveling from here to Kano, maybe they are going from Kano, they are going to other places. So if the flight is delayed, they cannot be able to meet up the Salah that they want to go. So if they can change that timing, I think it could have been better. So that once they say 1 o'clock, let their 1 o'clock be 1 o'clock. Not that they will say 1 o'clock, but before the flight will take up till around 7, which is not good.
I would say maybe just a focus on fairness and justice. So justice is two ways. We always chastise the airlines for hiking up tickets, cancelling flights, etc. So where they do that without any extenuating circumstances, they should be punished. NCAA has laws that protect consumer rights. They are not regularly enforced. Over the weekend, I was traveling down from Port Harcourt. Flight was delayed for 3 hours. And I know by the NCAA regulations, any delay above 2 hours, they should offer refreshments. It wasn't offered. I know that delay was due to weather issues. It was I think there was some storms in Lagos here. So I think government should enforce the penalties on the airlines, but also where the airlines have a requirement from government, things like fuel availability, accessibility of the airports, etc. Government also needs to step up, or the airport administrator, sorry, whether it's government or a private entity, they need to also step up. Whoever messes up should be given the koboko. That's, I think.
With these issues pointed out in a fairly new administration, now at the head of national affairs, Nigerians are expecting to see some impact on the aviation sector to ease the stress for Nigerians in the aviation sector.
On our interview segment today, we speak with a travel agent who has first-hand experience on the challenges of ticketing for both domestic and international travel. She calls for a speedy resolution of the forex situation so that the sector can begin to experience more investment.
The first and major effect, of course, apart from the effect on the airlines having their funds trapped for months, at this point, months on ending, but the major effect would be on the customers, and that's increasing average ticket prices. Since I think this issue started a little over a year ago, towards the first quarter of last year, and what the airlines have had to do to sort of hedge against the impending risk of having their funds trapped for an undefined period, and those funds being trapped in Naira, and with the weakening position of the Naira, it means the value of their funds in foreign currency, of course, begins to deplete for the duration of the period that it is trapped. What the airlines have done to mitigate against this impending risk of funds devaluation is really to not increase their prices, but to restrict access to the low ticket inventories in the market. Now, I would use a simple example. If the average fare from Lagos to London is $1,000, so airlines file their fares in USD, regardless of point of commencement. So if you're buying from the UK, the US, South Africa, it is always $1,000 flying from Lagos to London. Now, to buy it in different points of sales, it would be based on the BASA, the bilateral air service agreement between the country of the point of sale and the home country of the airline. So in this case, between Nigeria and the UK. And the BASA would ensure that the airline is actually bound to sell in local currency, in our case, which is Naira. So that's $1,000. They sell it at a rate that is regulated by IATA, the International Air Transport Association. For the sake of simple maths, would peg that at 100 Naira to $1, which means an airline sells $1,000 out of Nigeria today. It is 100,000 Naira at 100 Naira rate of exchange. Now, if somebody is purchasing that same ticket from the UK or from the US, the person pays in pounds in the UK, person pays in USD out of the US. The airline gets their funds immediately, no issues of repatriation. Now, in our case, the airlines have seen that their 100,000 Naira, which is meant to be pegged at $1,000 in value based on the IATA exchange rate, is not always $1,000 at the end of the unending months of it being tracked with the CBN. And even over and above that, when they go into the I&E window to bid for repatriation of funds, the I&E window is where most of the investors in Nigeria and foreign investors go to bid through their banks to access their funds at the agreed CBN rate. Now, the same BASA that kind of binds the airlines to sell at this defined rate also binds the Nigerian government, the CBN, to make forex available to the airline at the defined rate of 100. But the airlines have seen that as they bid, the rate that they get from the I&E window is a bit divergent from the CBN rate. So which means that the value, 100,000 Naira, that they expect $1,000, starts to become 950, 900, 800. And as the gap between that rate and the parallel market rate begins to extend, the risk for the airline begins to get larger and larger. Right now, the gap between the IATA rate and the parallel market rate is around 60%. So today, the parallel market rate is around 750. The IATA rate was just actually last week increased from 462 to 551. So it has reduced the gap a bit to 40%. That's some of the things that came out from the meeting with the Ministry of Aviation. But still, there is this huge gap, which is the risk that the airlines see selling in Naira. So what they have done is to take out those low ticket inventory that puts them within a profit margin that does not allow, should that devaluation risk become a reality, which means should they lose today 40% of the value of that Naira that they have trapped, should they lose the value in USD based on the exchange rate being merged to the parallel market rate, which is what we see that has happened last week. So last week, like I said, the rate was moved from 462 to 551, closing the gap a bit. So which means that airlines that did not make the decision to start restricting inventory already lost 20% of the value that they had trapped just last week, just by that adjustment that was done.
Welcome back. Now let's take a trip to one of the airport terminals in Lagos, where art lovers and sightseers now have the opportunity to enjoy a beautiful scenery as they travel. The Murtala Mohammed Terminal 2 local airport takes on a new look with artworks of Wilson Agu, an art lover, on display.
The Doba, yes, and this is the typical Doba. Maroko, the former Maroko, houses on stilts. I once had an exhibition in London, and most of the white people were very impressed, and they were telling me, this work depicts, this is the eagle of our coat of arms. This is the flag. People have made way, they have made space for the air. The eagle is carrying that air.
We are operators. We are not political people. We will continue to make our case based on law. And we believe that our case is insurmountable, is truthful, and it is only the best for the country. It is not an environment where you come and queue in the sun because you want to fly. If you decide you want to come and fly in Emirates, you can go to we have a gallery for flowers. You can decide you want to buy flowers. You can decide, oh, look, I'm just going to have lunch before I travel. You can decide that, oh, I just want to even do my communications issue. All the big communication companies are here. You can decide that, oh, really, my flight is 4 hours time. I can go and stay in the lounge, which has internet services, which has food and everything, and do my business. That is the idea. What we've tried to do is to uplift the standard with the hope that anybody who wants to build an airport tomorrow will have all these standards incorporated into their airport.
MM2 is a unique place. It's a pace setter and the first of its kind in the country. And the airports are a peculiar facility. It's meant to be the parlor of the country. It's meant to be the parlor of the state. Just like you make up your room and you leave your parlor for your strangers, airports are like that. It's a welcoming space for everybody. So it ought to be a foremost projector of our culture. There will be different aspects of this gallery. There will be the normal component of the gallery where we will sell art, interact with art, and expose art to the people over the years and update art. There is also the space, a kind of a celebrity space, where we will have space for achievers in the society, where we'll have space for collectors, people who have promoted the art. We want to say one or two things about them.
Still to come on aviation this week, Newsflash highlights more projects of the previous administration. Stay with us. Welcome back. On Newsflash today, we continue with our recap of the investment drive by the immediate past administration in various airport infrastructure projects across states of the Federation.
The General Aviation Terminal of the Murtala Mohammed Domestic Airport isn't short of its usual traveling traffic as Nigerians continue with their busy schedule. For some, the aviation sector has recorded some good projects, coming off the back of opening new airports in Oyo and Ogun State and the launch of fire trucks.
Our country and humanity.
As the Minister of Aviation and Aerospace is in Lagos to commission the renovated first phase of the Protocol Lounge at the General Aviation Terminal.
This is one of the things that we've been doing. You all remember how this terminal was before. It was having an initial passenger capacity of 256 passenger capacity terminal. And due to need for expansion, we gave out a contract for 12 months, and we now increase the terminal to host passenger 1,024 passenger. It has 24 toilets, 2 VIP areas, 3 lifts, 5 airline offices, and 768 number passenger seating capacity with a space for reduced mobility passengers. This indeed is significant. I'm sure you would agree with me, this has been transformed. And this is part of the continuation and the efforts to leave civil aviation better than we met it.
According to the minister, who refused to speak on the reality of Nigerian Air before his exit from office, spoke extensively on other aviation investments under President Muhammadu Buhari.
The administration of President Muhammadu Buhari in civil aviation had done extremely well. We are leaving aviation better than we met it. We have doubled the number of airlines, doubled the number of airports, quadrupled the number of passengers. Everywhere is blossoming. We become the fastest growing sector of the economy. We recovered out of COVID to be the second fastest growing country on earth after Colombia. With 111% out of COVID, we did extremely very well. We're still running the airports even within COVID when we don't make a kobo. President Muhammadu Buhari had done a lot in civil aviation in Nigeria.
The event also featured a presidential award on an airport staff who returned a missing item.
Excuse me.
In a few days, President Muhammadu Buhari's administration will come to an end, but he leaves behind legacy projects across the country.
And on the foreign scene, strong partnerships are emerging in the European aviation market as Airbus assembles its first line of carriers in China. Also, Ryanair is set for a surge in passenger numbers in Central and Eastern Europe, CEE, by at least 50% over the next decade.
Ryanair expects passenger numbers in Central and Eastern Europe to surge by at least 50% over the next decade as it looks to dominate in a less developed market, also targeted by Wizz Air. Europe's biggest low-cost carrier has ordered as many as 300 Boeing jets as it seeks to take advantage of the rebound in air traffic following the COVID-19 pandemic, and the company sees demand for new routes in Eastern Europe.
We plan to grow in the whole region of Central and Eastern Europe in upcoming years. Our recent Boeing order, we just ordered over 300 planes, is going to support our growth. We plan to have over 300 million passengers in upcoming decade per year. So Central Eastern Europe is an important element of this growth. We want to focus very much on this region. We see that this is going to be a large part of our upcoming expansion.
While Poland has long been one of Ryanair's key markets, Wojciech Golbiowska said the company was now redoubling its focus on other countries in the region.
Our goal is to become #1 in markets like Romania, Bulgaria, Hungary, and we plan to do it with delivering more routes, better fares and more traveling choices for our passengers. I see Central Eastern Europe taking part in that, being part of this growth. In terms of size, it's pretty hard at this moment to say about the exact numbers, but we hope that the whole region is going to grow at least by 50%.
Hungarian budget airline Wizz Air will be its main competitor, as it offers similar cheap fares as well as connections to the Middle East. The pertinent question is, who will dominate the Euro aviation market?
Airbus delivered an aircraft assembled in North China's Tianjin municipality to a European client for the first time on Tuesday. The European company that took delivery of its first A321neo aircraft assembled at Airbus's final assembly line in Tianjin is the Hungarian low-cost carrier Wizz Air. The A321neo, the largest member of the A320 family, can carry up to 244 passengers. As a narrow-body aircraft in its payload capacity is comparable to a wide-body aircraft. Opened in 2008, the facility in Tianjin serves as the first Airbus commercial aircraft assembly line outside of Europe. Since its first A320 delivery in 2009, the center has delivered more than 600 aircrafts. The European manufacturer expanded the capability of its Tianjin line to A321 production in 2021 to meet its ramp-up goals and growing demand for the model. The first A321neo assembled at Airbus Tianjin was delivered to Chinese private carrier Juneyao Air in March. The construction of a second final assembly line for Airbus A320 series aircraft in Tianjin will begin in the fourth quarter of this year. When the new assembly line becomes operational, Tianjin will have 2 single-aisle aircraft production lines and a wide-body aircraft completion and delivery center, further enhancing Airbus's global production capacity and promoting the innovation and development of the China-European aviation industry.
The National Aeronautics and Space Administration has named the first woman and the first African-American ever assigned as astronaut to a lunar mission, introducing them as part of the 4-member team chosen to fly on what would be the first crewed voyage around the moon in more than 50 years. Christina Koch, a 44-year-old, is an engineer who holds the record for longest continuous space flights by a woman and was part of NASA's first 3 all-female spacewalks. Named as a mission specialist for the Artemis II lunar flyby expected as early as next year.
We are going to launch from Kennedy Space Center through the work of the Exploration Ground Systems team. We're going to hear the words, "Go for launch," on top of the most powerful rocket NASA's ever made, the Space Launch System. And we're going to ride that rocket for 8 minutes into Earth orbit. We're not going to go to the moon right away. We're going to stay in an amazing high orbit, reaching a peak of tens of thousands of miles while we test out all the systems on Orion and even see how it maneuvers in space. And then, if everything looks good, we're heading to the moon.
She will be joined by a 46-year-old Victor Glover, a United States Navy aviator and veteran of 4 spacewalks, who NASA has designated as pilot of Artemis II. He will be the first black astronaut ever to be sent on a lunar mission. Rounding out the crew are Jeremy Hansen, a Royal Canadian Air Force colonel and first Canadian ever chosen for a flight to the moon as a mission specialist. There's also Reid Wiseman, another former United States Navy fighter pilot, named as mission commander. Both are 47 years old. All 3 NASA astronauts chosen for the Artemis II mission are veterans of previous expeditions aboard the International Space Station. Hansen, as an astronaut from the Canadian Space Agency, is a space flight rookie.
And this is where we touch down on today's edition of Aviation This Week. Thank you for watching. I am Bukola Koka.